It seems right now on Twitter, if people are arguing whether a show is good or not, they always come to character development and they always try to use that as an excuse to say the show is ass or not. So I've been seeing people shitting on My Hero Academia for a long time now on the timeline. And I personally think My Hero Academia is a very good anime. In fact, I would go ahead and say it's a great anime. But I don't like how my people be sleeping on this. So this video is gonna be about the character development in My Hero Academia and why I think it has the best character development in all of anime. This is the Bombs with Expensive Taste, and I'm your host today. All my ex, Apo isn't here because I know more than him, but don't tell him I said that. Before we begin, I want you to hit that subscribe button, please. Just beg, please. I need you to hit that subscribe button, please. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers. It's not much, so please hit that subscribe button. Okay, good. The first character that I'm going to start with that I think has been done to the T and is perfect is none other than the shittiest father in My Hero Academia. We all know who it is. Endeavor, number 2 hero. Yeah. We get introduced to Endeavor as the father of Todoroki, who is like a promising ice user that also has a fire side in class 1A. And for some reason, Todoroki never uses his fire side. Why not? Because his father was an abusive shit, that's why. Coming into the show, Endeavor neglected his family, he abused his children, he traumatized his wife to the point where she burnt her son because he looked like him. That is crazy. Oh, and then I forgot to mention, this wife that burnt her child, she was basically bought because Endeavor was a big hero at that time and he had the fire quirk. So he went to look for a family that had an ice quirk, gave them some dough, and they gave Endeavor their daughter, which is pretty fucked up. I ain't gonna lie, but yo, it is what it is. He was also super obsessed with power, always wanted to be All Might, but he was always second to All Might. He had this insane inferiority complex when it came to All Might, but at the same time, he also looked up to All Might and he was trying to surpass him. But because of his quirk and the fire thing, he had to find a way to deal with his weakness, which means he overheats. So the next thing that came to his head was, okay, I'm just going to give birth to children that have an ice quirk that would just kind of balance with my fire quirk and they can surpass All Might, and was his goal. But that ended up making him an abusive father. He neglected every other kid that he had that wasn't perfect, as he said. And then when he eventually got the perfect kid, he abused him to the point where the kid didn't want to use the fire side because of how much he hated his dad. Just to speed up on Endeavor and everything that about him, things that really messed him up was the death of his first son, which he blamed himself for, and the fact that he could never get to All Might's level. But then we start to see a drastic change, well, a good change in Endeavor as the series goes on, where he tries to redeem himself. He first of all tries to fix up his family. This happened just right off as All Might's death. Well, I call it death because he's useless now, basically. All he is a motivational speaker. And we're going to notice his death, in quotation, actually leads to the character development of a lot of characters in the show. That's the influence that All Might had on the show. After All Might's death, Endeavor took the spot of number 1 hero. So that came with a lot of responsibilities. And he realized that he had to change when he saw how disconnected he was from his family and how he treated his family, or how the treatment of his family distanced his family away from him and they didn't want to be like him. So he went on his quest to redeem himself as a father and as a hero. First of all, he tried to fix up his relationship with Todoroki, calling him all the time, training him, the good form of training, not the abusive one, and also trying to heal just the cracks that he caused in his family and make peace with the death of his son too. Even though it was tough, like he got some resistance from his children for good reason, he still was patient and understood that he has to atone for his mistakes. And the gesture that he did that just showed him that he understood that when the mom was coming out of the hospital, he bought them a new separate house away from him where they can just sit down and all be a family, because in the end, that's what all of them want to be. That Todoroki's beautiful sister, all she wants is a happy family. And he did that for himself. And to me, that is enough atonement for Endeavor, the abusive father. And please, nobody should mix around with Shotaka from Full Metal Alchemist, because he is not that anymore. He is Endeavor, number one hero. Please, thank you. Okay. On the hero front too, he also embodied a hero. When All Might died, I say died, but you know what I mean. I felt there was nobody that I would feel that feeling when I saw Detroit smash. But Endeavor showed me that he still has it. And he's that guy, because when he fought Nomu and he was about to lose, he sacrificed himself. He didn't know whether he was going to survive or not. He had a family and all those things that he was trying to do, but he still sacrificed himself to beat that Nomu with just one word. Praminan Saban. That's all I have to say, which honestly is one of my favorite moves in the show. It's crazy. And then for the manga readers, the last chapter that we just read, his final sacrifice, when he was pushed to the limit, just joins everything he learned from All Might, from his family, from Deku, everything, and just shows how much he deserves that title of number one hero, even though I don't know what's going to happen next, but we'll see. The next character in My Hero Academia that I believe has been slept on, and his character development has been slept on, is Bakugo, also known as Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite, which is the best name in all of My Hero Academia, no cap. Meeting Bakugo, all we saw was just a loud bully that was extremely gifted and had like an overpowered quirk at that time. And there was just no layers to the character apart from he shouts a lot and he bullies the main guy, and he was just there to be a nuisance to the MC. And that's all we thought he was going to be. Some people did consider him a rival because they also introduced him as a friend or like a childhood friend of Deku. And they've been together since the jump. But they've always had like they've always had clashes, and they've shown us how he bullies Deku, throws his book out of the window and all of that. So that's what most people thought Bakugo was. And people were even annoyed because he shouts too much, like Asta from Black Clover. And yeah, honestly, that wasn't for me too. I didn't like him at first. But then, as the series went on, Bakugo started to change. This change happened when he got kidnapped by the League of Villains, and that led to the whole fight with All Might, and All Might losing his powers because he had to use his last embers of the flame to fight All for One. So already we knew Bakugo didn't like feeling weak, and he didn't want to be a burden to anybody else. So that already made him feel bad because he put the whole team in danger when he got kidnapped. So he was facing a lot of issues with that, confidence issues with himself and all that. He also blamed himself for the death, in quotation marks, of his hero, All Might, that he idolized since he was a kid along with Deku. And he just kept that to himself, and that kept on building anger within him because he felt responsible for the death of the greatest hero in the world. And then during the fight with Deku, we just thought, okay, this guy is just jealous of Deku now because he sees my boy is getting strong, just like Sasuke was jealous of Naruto when he saw the Rasengan and all of that. But everybody just kind of thought, yeah, he's jealous of Deku now. And the thing is, when you grow up and there's just somebody that is with you and has always been shit and you've always been better than, and you see them slowly getting to you and maybe even surpassing you, and finding out that your idol has chosen him to be his successor, that does fuck you up a little bit, and that does make you angry. And so that fight that he had with Deku was a pivotal moment for both characters because it showed us, and that was the first time we really saw Bakugo in a vulnerable position. His emotions really spoke out when he was crying out and explaining how he felt when All Might was dead or when All Might was beaten and everything. And that's when we really understood that, okay, Bakugo guy actually has layers to him, and there's a reason why he behaves the way he does. Instead of admitting he is at fault or admitting his flaws, he just results into bullying Deku, who he was threatened by because he didn't want to feel inferior to Deku. He also was suffering from inferiority complex and the fear of people surpassing him and him never being great enough. And that's what led him to behave like the way he behaved all those years. As the show went on, we also saw Bakugo grow a bit more than that point where he started helping Deku reach his full potential. If you remember, there's this chapter that he had a discussion with All Might about training Deku, and All Might mentioned how him making sure Deku completes his training is his way to atone for his actions in the past. And nobody ever believed somebody like Bakugo would do something like that. And making sure that Deku, who was his rival and the person that he bullied, is reaching his full potential because he knows the fate of the world is on Deku because he does have the broken quirk, the most broken quirk in the Hero Alliance. Favorite Bakugo moment, which made him like he shot up to like the top of my favorite characters in My Hero Academia, and this was when Deku was fighting against Shigaraki, the reformed new Shigaraki, and literally Deku was about to die, and from nowhere, Bakugo jumps in, pushes Deku out of the way, and just sacrificed himself to save Deku. And he didn't even think at that time, which is a proper callback to how Deku saved him at first in the first episode, where he just didn't think, his body moved on its own, and which I think that is the statement All Might heard that that made him decide Deku was his successor, meaning that Bakugo now is even worthy to be All Might's successor. Unbelievable writing from Horikoshi. Top tier writing from Horikoshi. We need to give him his props. And to top it off, we got an apology from him at the end, which I feel like completes his character development. I believe his apology was the most important part in the attempt to get Deku back to UA when he was on his Batman spree. And then we just finally got an all-rounded character. Bakugo at the beginning of the series, we would never imagine him doing anything like what he's doing right now. And that's why I believe that the character development in My Hero Academia is awesome, because we got Bakugo, who was basically just a one-dimensional character that was always shouting about him trying to be the best. And as the show went on, we unlocked so many layers in just this one character, and we realized that he wasn't as straightforward as everybody thought he was, and people just pushed him under the rug. And definitely props to Horikoshi for giving us so many characters that have had so much growth throughout the show. Endeavor had a lot of growth. Bakugo had growth. There are a lot more people, honourable mentions that I can't really go deep in this video, but Todoroki actually had a lot of growth from when the beginning of the show, he didn't want to use fire, to the point where he now joins fire and ice for him to actually be the best, and him beating his brother. That is just amazing character development. Deku, obviously, I could talk about Deku's character development for the whole video, but I need to keep it short. Just long story short, how we got Deku, who was originally a crybaby, to him taking the responsibility of the world and he's back right now. That is 100% just amazing writing from Horikoshi, and that is why I believe My Hero Academia has the best character development in all of anime manga. Don't forget to click like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, please. We're trying to get to 100. Road to 100. Bums out.